I never thought my own parents would try to steal from me. My name is Rachel. I am 27 years old, and I work as a software engineer in Seattle. I have been completely independent since I turned 18, building my career and financial security from scratch. Last Tuesday morning, I woke up to a notification from my bank about a $50,000 transaction that had been declined from my credit card. I was completely confused because I had not made any purchases recently. When I checked my banking app, I saw multiple failed attempts from something called a luxury travel agency. The sick feeling in my stomach told me this was no random security breach. Before I dive into what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. And if you have ever had family financial drama, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Trust me, you will not believe how this unfolded. To understand this story, you need to know about my family dynamics. I am the older daughter, and my sister Emma is 24. Growing up, the difference between how we were treated was like night and day. I worked hard in school, earned a full scholarship to Stanford, and landed a six-figure job in tech right after graduation. Emma, on the other hand, has been the golden child since birth. She dropped out of college twice, has never held a steady job, and my parents always made excuses for her behavior by saying she was sensitive and needed more support. My parents live in suburban Phoenix and are solid middle-class people, but they have always treated Emma like she was made of glass. Every time she failed at something, they would blame external circumstances and shower her with comfort and money. Meanwhile, I was expected to be the responsible one who had everything figured out. Over the years, I had helped my family financially several times, but it always felt like they took my generosity for granted. After seeing those failed charges on my account, I immediately called my bank. The customer service representative told me that someone had attempted to charge $50,000 to a company called Platinum Escapes Luxury Travel. The bank had automatically declined the transaction because it was an unusually large amount, and the charges were coming from Phoenix while I live in Seattle. My hands were shaking as I wrote down all the information. I quickly searched for this travel agency online. Platinum Escapes specialized in ultra-luxurious European tours, offering 60-day packages complete with private jets, 5-star accommodations, personal shopping assistance, and exclusive cultural experiences. As I scrolled through their website looking at the astronomical prices, I suddenly realized something. This was exactly the type of trip that Emma constantly shared on her Instagram stories, from the influencers she followed obsessively. My heart started racing as the pieces began falling into place. I decided to call home and ask some casual questions about Emma's current plans. When my mother answered the phone, I could immediately hear nervousness in her voice. I asked how everyone was doing and mentioned that I had noticed Emma posting about travel lately. Mom stammered and said Emma was exploring options for some kind of gap year trip to find herself. Then I mentioned the bank notifications I had received. The line went completely silent for about 10 seconds. I could hear my mother breathing heavily before my father took the phone. His voice was shaky as he said they needed to talk. He explained that Emma had been accepted into what he called an exclusive European culture program, and this was supposedly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for her personal growth and development. I was immediately suspicious about this so-called program and asked for specific details about the curriculum, the organization running it, and what Emma would actually be learning. Both my parents became evasive, giving vague answers about cultural immersion and personal development. The more questions I asked, the more uncomfortable they became. Finally, I demanded a straight answer about what was really going on. My mother broke down crying and confessed everything. Through her tears, she said they knew I was successful and financially stable, and Emma really needed this experience because she had been struggling to find direction in her life. They thought this trip would help her mature and figure out her future. Then my father dropped the bombshell. They had submitted my credit card information to the travel agency, fully expecting that I would understand and help out because of family obligation. Emma had already booked the entire 60-day luxury package and was scheduled to depart in less than 2 weeks. They had assumed I would be willing to help out like I always had in the past, and honestly thought I would not mind covering the cost since I made good money. I was completely stunned and could not find words to respond. The betrayal felt like a physical punch to my chest. Without saying anything else, I hung up the phone and sat in my apartment trying to process what had just happened. My own parents had attempted to commit credit card fraud using my information, and they genuinely believed I should be okay with it. About 30 minutes after I hung up on my parents, Emma called me. She was absolutely hysterical and furious, screaming through the phone about what she called my selfish behavior. She could not understand why I would not just help family, especially since I made good money and could afford it. She kept saying that I was being dramatic and unreasonable. During this phone call, Emma revealed that she had already been bragging to all her friends about the luxury European trip. She had posted several stories on social media announcing that she was Europe-bound and had been showing off the expensive luggage and designer clothes she had bought in preparation. She was mortified that she might have to back out now because everyone knew she was supposed to be going. Emma tried every guilt trip technique she could think of. She told me that our parents had sacrificed everything for both of us growing up, and now it was payback time. She said that family should always help family without question, and my hesitation proved that I was selfish and had forgotten where I came from. When I tried to explain basic concepts about consent and financial boundaries, Emma interrupted me constantly and accused me of being overly dramatic about money. Over the next few days, I received a bombardment of phone calls from extended family members. Somehow, Emma and my parents had launched a full-scale pressure campaign to convince me to change my mind. My Aunt Martha called and said that Emma had told everyone about what she called a simple misunderstanding. She reminded me that Emma had always been the more delicate child and needed extra support to thrive in life. My grandmother, who was 85 years old, called to lecture me about family loyalty. She said that in her day, family members helped each other without question, and she could not understand why I was being so difficult about money when I had plenty of it. Several cousins sent me long text messages about the importance of cultural exposure for young adults, and how this trip would be educational for Emma. The family group text chat became completely overwhelming. Everyone was sharing articles about the benefits of international travel and posting inspirational quotes about family unity and support. I felt like I was being gaslit by my entire extended family. They made me feel like I was the villain in this situation for refusing to enable Emma's expensive fantasy. The situation got even worse when Emma started posting on Instagram. She shared photos of expensive designer suitcases and luxury travel outfits with captions that were clearly targeted at me. One post showed her new wardrobe with the caption about how some people stress about money while others choose to live their dreams. The comments from her friends were full of support for her position and criticism of family members who do not help each other. But the post that really pushed me over the edge was a photo she shared of my old Honda Civic with laughing, crying emojis. The caption read something about how, when your sister drives a car like this but acts like $50,000, is huge money, you know where her priorities are. Her friends commented things like how cheap I was and how family should always support family no matter what. I took screenshots of everything because I could not believe how publicly humiliating this had become. The absolute breaking point came when Emma called me late one night. I could tell she had been drinking at a party with her friends because her speech was slurred and she was being unusually cruel. She told me that I was pathetic and everyone thought so. She said I made decent money but chose to live like a broke college student instead of enjoying life and helping the people who mattered. Then she threatened me by saying she would find another way to get the money for her trip. She suggested that maybe she would contact my employer and let them know how stingy I was with family members who needed help. She said my mother had already told everyone at church about my selfishness, and she hoped I was proud of my reputation as the family member who abandoned her sister in her time of need. After she hung up on me, I sat in my dark apartment feeling completely alone and overwhelmed. I realized that this situation had spiraled completely out of control, and my family was willing to destroy my reputation and emotional well-being to get what they wanted. That night, I decided I needed to take action to protect myself and teach everyone involved a serious lesson about boundaries and consequences. The next morning, I took a personal day from work and spent the entire day making calculated decisions about how to handle this situation. My first call was to my bank, where I officially reported the unauthorized usage attempts and requested that all my account numbers be changed immediately. I wanted to make sure that my parents could never access my finances again without my explicit permission. I spent several hours documenting everything that had happened over the past week. I took screenshots of all Emma's social media posts, including the ones where she had mocked me and my car. I saved all the text messages from family members pressuring me to pay for the trip. I even recorded some of the phone conversations I had with my parents and Emma, which is completely legal in Washington state, as long as one party consents to the recording. While I was doing my research, I decided to investigate this so-called exclusive European culture program that Emma was supposedly participating in. It took me less than an hour to discover that Platinum Escapes was nothing more than an overpriced tourist package marketed to wealthy young adults who wanted to post impressive vacation photos on social media. There was absolutely no educational component, no structured learning, and no cultural immersion beyond staying in expensive hotels and eating at fancy restaurants. I also decided to do some digging into my family's financial situation. What I discovered made me sick to my stomach. My parents had mortgaged their house 3 separate times over the past 5 years to fund Emma's various schemes and failed business ventures. They were in significant debt and had been borrowing against their home equity to maintain their lifestyle and continue enabling Emma's expensive habits. Armed with all this information, I developed a strategic plan to expose the truth and force everyone to face reality. I called my mother and told her that I had been thinking about the situation and maybe I had been too harsh. She was immediately excited and said she knew I would come around eventually because I was such a loving sister and daughter. I told her that I was willing to consider helping with Emma's trip, but I had some conditions that needed to be met first. Emma would need to personally apologize to me and provide a detailed explanation of why this trip was essential for her future, and not just an expensive vacation. I also wanted to have a family dinner where we could all discuss this situation openly and honestly. My mother was thrilled and immediately agreed to set up a family meeting. I suggested that we meet at an upscale restaurant and I offered to pay for everyone's dinner. I wanted Emma to be comfortable and relaxed when I revealed everything I had discovered. My mother said she would coordinate with Emma and my father, and we scheduled the dinner for the following Saturday evening. When Saturday arrived, Emma showed up to the restaurant dressed in a new designer outfit with a designer handbag that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She was clearly expecting this dinner to be a victory lap where I would apologize for my behavior and agree to fund her luxury vacation. She was animated and confident, talking loudly about her excitement for the trip. Throughout dinner, Emma went into extensive detail about her planned itinerary. She talked about shopping in Milan, partying in Ibiza, networking with other wealthy travelers, and posting content for her Instagram followers. She described the private jet transfers, the 5-star hotels, and the personal shopping assistants who would help her build a European wardrobe. Every detail she shared made it more obvious that this was purely a luxury vacation with no educational or cultural value. After we finished eating and the plates were cleared away, I calmly pulled out a folder containing all the documents I had prepared. I spread bank statements, mortgage papers, and printouts of Emma's social media posts across the table. Emma looked confused and asked what I was doing, but I told her we needed to have an honest conversation about money management and family responsibilities. I started by showing Emma and my parents the exact cost breakdown of her trip. The $50,000 she wanted me to spend was equivalent to my parents' entire annual household income. I showed them how they had already borrowed against their house equity 3 separate times to fund Emma's previous failed ventures, and they were now in serious financial trouble. Emma became defensive and said that this situation was different because the trip was an investment in her future. I asked her to explain her specific plans for after the trip and how this experience would lead to career opportunities or personal growth. She stammered and admitted that she did not have any concrete plans beyond finding herself and having new experiences. I continued by showing my parents and Emma the research I had done about Platinum Escapes. I proved that it was not an educational program, but simply an overpriced tourist package designed to separate wealthy families from their money. I showed them testimonials from previous customers who had spent similar amounts and gained nothing but Instagram photos and credit card debt. Then I revealed Emma's social media posts, where she had mocked me for being poor and driving an old car. I read aloud the comments from her friends criticizing me for not supporting family. Emma's face turned bright red as she realized that I had seen everything she had posted about me. She started crying and saying that I had planned this whole dinner just to humiliate her in front of our parents. Emma had a complete meltdown right there in the restaurant. She screamed that I had orchestrated everything to make her look bad, and that I wanted to ruin her life because I was jealous of the attention she received from our parents. Other diners turned to stare at our table as Emma's voice got louder and more hysterical. She knocked over her water glass, grabbed her purse, and stormed out of the restaurant, leaving my parents and me sitting in stunned silence. For the first time, my parents had witnessed Emma's true character when she did not get her way. They sat quietly for several minutes, processing everything they had just seen and heard. I calmly paid the dinner bill and offered to drive my parents home. During the 20-minute car ride, they both apologized sincerely for their behavior. They said they had not realized how bad the situation had gotten, and how their enabling had damaged both Emma and our family relationships. They promised to cancel all of Emma's bookings and implement real boundaries going forward. Emma did not speak to anyone in our family for 3 weeks after that dinner. During that time, my parents canceled all her travel bookings and lost the deposits they had already paid, but they were able to save the majority of the money. They used this time to have serious conversations about their financial situation and their parenting mistakes. When Emma finally came home, she was forced to face reality without her usual financial safety net. My parents told her that she needed to find a real job before they would provide any additional support. They also made it clear that any future family financial decisions would require transparency and mutual agreement from everyone involved. I started seeing a therapist to help me process the complicated family dynamics and learn how to maintain healthy boundaries without feeling guilty. The therapy sessions were incredibly helpful in understanding how my role as the responsible daughter had enabled my parents' unfair treatment of both Emma and me. I learned that setting boundaries was not selfish, but necessary for healthy relationships. I also joined a financial literacy workshop specifically designed for families dealing with money conflicts. The workshop taught me communication techniques for discussing financial boundaries and helped me understand that many families struggle with similar dynamics. Meeting other people who had overcome family financial drama gave me hope that my situation could improve. As part of my personal healing journey, I started dating again after years of focusing solely on my career and family obligations. I had realized that constantly managing family crises had prevented me from building my own personal relationships and pursuing my own happiness. The family healing process was slow but steady. We started having monthly family dinners where financial topics were completely off limits. These meals focused on rebuilding our relationships without the stress of money conflicts. My parents made formal apologies to me and committed to treating both daughters equally going forward. Emma eventually found an entry-level job at a local marketing company and started paying my parents a small monthly amount to help with household expenses. This was the first time she had ever contributed financially to the family, and the experience taught her valuable lessons about money management and personal responsibility. I decided to help Emma create a realistic budget and savings plan so she could eventually afford travel experiences within her means. We worked together to identify affordable alternatives to luxury travel, including local cultural events and budget-friendly weekend trips. This collaboration helped repair our sister relationship while maintaining appropriate boundaries. Our family holiday traditions resumed, but gift-giving became modest and meaningful rather than expensive and competitive. We focused on spending quality time together and creating positive memories instead of trying to solve emotional problems with money. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family is refuse to enable their worst impulses. That $50,000 trip never happened, but what I gained was worth so much more. I gained self-respect, healthy boundaries, and a family that finally learned the difference between love and indulgence. True family support is not about saying yes to every request. It is about having the courage to say no when necessary. Some bridges are worth burning if they lead to places that destroy everyone who crosses them. I want to hear from you in the comments about your own family money experiences. Have you ever had to set financial boundaries with family members? How did you handle the pressure and guilt? Please like this video if my story resonated with you and subscribe for more real-life stories about family drama and personal growth. Share this video with anyone who might be struggling with similar family dynamics. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you remember that protecting your financial boundaries is an act of love for both yourself and your family.